One Punch Vaccine Man. The first major villain in One Punch Man is Vaccine Man, and his short-lived battle with Saitama perfectly sets the tone for the series. He appears by wreaking havoc on a city, terrifying civilians and even confronting a child before Saitama steps in to save her. Vaccine Man quickly transforms into a monstrous form and declares his mission to wipe out humanity for polluting the planet. On paper, he is a terrifying foe, classified as a dragon-level threat, which places him among the most dangerous monsters in the world. In his base form, he had already leveled large sections of the city with ease, and fans often compare his strength to powerful monsters like Black S. Still, many argue that even at his peak, he wouldn't surpass opponents like Goketsu, whose cosmic transformation elevates him to near god level. Despite all this buildup and potential, the fight ends in typical fashion. Saitama casually ends Vaccine Man with a single, devastating punch, reminding viewers of the series' central joke. One Punch, one-shotted Marugori. Another early villain who looked terrifying but didn't last long against Saitama was Marugori, also known as Beefcake. His story begins with his brother creating a special concoction that would give someone insane power. The brother wanted the glory of power for himself, but he also didn't want the ugly transformation that came with it. So instead, Marugori takes the formula, and as soon as he drinks it, he becomes a giant hundreds of stories tall. Just his hand alone could wipe out city blocks like they were nothing. So, on paper, this sounds like a nightmare for any hero to deal with, because how do you even fight someone that massive? But of course, when you put him up against Saitama, size really doesn't matter. Marugori smashes Saitama into the ground and throws punch after punch, fully convinced that he's won. But for a moment, it seems like maybe Saitama could have been crushed under the giant's blows. But once the dust settles, it turns out that Saitama wasn't even scratched. He then jumps back up, and in one swift punch, he ends the fight by snapping Marugori's neck. Despite how big and terrifying Marugori looked, he's gone in an instant. One Punch. Pluton, the king of the underworld. Pluton, who called himself the king of the underworld, was another dragon-level threat who didn't get too much time to shine. His design was intimidating, and he carried a giant trident that made you think that he was about to unleash some devastating attacks. But the problem is, he barely made it through his dramatic villain introduction before Saitama showed up. And Saitama didn't waste a second. He literally smashed through Pluton's face and came out the other side, killing him instantly. It was over before Pluton even got the chance to show what that trident was truly capable of. It's one of those fights that's so quick you almost can't help but laugh, because the build-up suggests that he'll be a real threat, but Saitama just treats him like an afterthought. One Punch. Carnage Kabuto in Carnage mode. Carnage Kabuto is one of the more memorable monsters from early on, mainly because of how hyped he was by the House of Evolution. He was their ultimate creation, a super powerful and slightly unstable monster that they believed could handle almost anyone. When he enters Carnage mode, his strength and speed skyrocket to frightening levels. And at the start of the fight, Kabuto actually tosses Saitama around like a ragdoll, and for a second, you might think that this will be one of those rare fights where Saitama actually struggles. But then you realize that Saitama isn't even paying attention to what's going on. His inner monologue is all about how he forgot that there was a big sale happening at the grocery store and now he might miss it. That alone says a lot about how he sees Kabuto as a threat. And when Saitama finally decides to take the fight seriously, or rather, when he vents his frustration about the missed sale, he destroys Carnage Kabuto with a single punch. Dr. Genus, who is watching the whole time, is absolutely stunned. And this battle perfectly sums up the comedy of One Punch Man because it shows how easily Saitama could handle a supposedly unstoppable opponent. One Punch. The Deep Sea King's upper half exploded. The Deep Sea King is actually one of the villains who gets a little more attention than most. Before Saitama even shows up, this monster defeats multiple heroes, including Saitama's disciple Genos. Genos puts up a strong fight and might even have had a shot if he hadn't sacrificed himself to protect a little girl, which says a lot about his growth as a hero. Even Moomin Rider, the hero with basically no powers, gave everything he had against the Deep Sea King, even though he had no real chance of winning. And these moments made the Deep Sea King seem like a true menace. But when Saitama finally arrives, the mood shifts instantly. The villain smacks Saitama in the back of the head, and Saitama doesn't even flinch. Then, with one punch, Saitama blasts the top half of the Deep Sea King into pieces. The attack is so strong that it actually clears the rain around him, making for one of the most dramatic one-punch finishes in the whole series. One punch. The Elder Centipede Sentikoro disintegrated. The Elder Centipede, also known as Sentikoro, is one of the biggest monsters Saitama has faced so far. This creature is absolutely massive, and its endless length makes it seem nearly impossible to defeat. Before Saitama arrives, it easily overwhelms Genos, Silverfang, and Bomb, showing just how dangerous it really is. Things look especially bad when Sentikoro chases after King, who has no real combat abilities. The only reason King was able to distract the monster was by mentioning its true nemesis, Blast, the #1 S-Class hero. But just before it looks like King is about to be obliterated, Saitama steps in, as always, at the perfect moment. With a single devastating punch, he disintegrates the entire monster. Seeing something that big get wiped out in one hit is both impressive and hilarious, and it made fans eager to see what other dragon-level monsters Saitama could casually destroy next. One punch. Boros is an interstellar threat. Now, Boros is one of the most important enemies in the series because he's the first real villain who seems like he could give Saitama an actual fight. As the leader of the Dark Matter Thieves, Boros is an interstellar conqueror with incredible strength, speed, and regeneration powers. And on top of that, he can unleash destructive energy blasts that make him look unstoppable. At first, he even wears an armor that suppresses his true strength, but once that armor breaks, his power skyrockets. Unlike most villains, Boros actually manages to land a strong hit on Saitama and sends him all the way back to the moon. That moment shocked fans because it was one of the few times Saitama was pushed around. But of course, the battle ends with Saitama using a serious punch, which finally takes Boros down. Even though Boros technically lost, he remains one of the most memorable villains because he actually felt like he belonged in the same league as Saitama. One punch. Evil Natural Water Ocean. One of the strangest monsters in One Punch Man is evil natural water. At first, it's basically just a puddle of living, evil water that attacks people. But the real danger comes when it merges with larger bodies of water. Once it expands, it becomes evil ocean water, which is much more terrifying. This version could create huge tidal waves and shoot water beams at incredible pressure, and even drown entire groups of heroes. It wasn't a flashy or humanoid monster, but its abilities made it extremely dangerous. But like all the others before, it stood no chance against Saitama. The Caped Baldy ended things in a dramatic fashion by unleashing a serious punch that literally split the ocean apart, almost like something out of a biblical story. And that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Your suggestions for future videos are always welcome in the comments down below, so let me know what you'd like to see next. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay in the loop.